Good afternoon. In this video, we're going to go over the watch list for this week. Before I get into the watch list, if you're not in the room, the link for the room is in the description of the video, and you can find it in the bio sections of the social media. Get a big earnings week this week. A lot of the stocks that I normally trade have earnings this week. You know, like you get Triple M. You have just some of the ones I'm just looking off quickly is Boeing, Tesla, Apple, Facebook, McDonald's, Visa, Cat, Lilly. A lot of the big ones that we trade are going to be having earnings this week, so there's no point even looking at them until after earnings to find out how they react to the earnings, whether it's good or bad, or the reactions are good or bad, and we'll just trade the reaction the next day or that day of earnings after earnings is released, and trade the reaction to it. And yeah, with that said, the stocks I do have on the watch list are ones that do not have earnings, so we can look at those and kind of plan accordingly to those. First one up is Pepsi, PEP. Now Pepsi's already, I mean, it's down here on the RSI is down here at the 30, 34 area on the daily, which is pretty extreme for this stock, but but on the weekly, I mean, it's just starting to curl down on the MACD. So I mean, it could drop down to 135 or 130. It still could have some more room to drop, but I would start looking at a rate here, right in this 138 area. So if it does manage to get over 139, probably a push to 140, 142, and 144. Now 144 is a really big area right in here. So so you can see this resistance, then acted as support, and resistance again right here. So it's a really big number. I don't know if it'll actually be able to get through it or not, but if it does bounce this week, it's I would look for like a 144 target on that. And the next one I have is HD. Now obviously this is the bullish side of the watch list, assuming the market is strong. Now HD could have a strong move because on the weekly and the daily you get a trend line right here, right at the 285, and on the weekly, and they're both set up where if it breaks out, I think it's going to probably put a big move. Now you can see on the weekly it looks like a big bull flag right here. So if it does break the 285, it's probably going to go to 290, then go to all-time highs, which is 290, 295, 293. We'll just round up and probably shoot to 295. So Home Depot HD could have a big push, so definitely be watching that one. FedEx is another one I'd be watching. I mean, I know on the weekly it's looks pretty extended, but it did pull back some. It did let some air out, and it is showing on the stochastics is oversold on the weekly, so it could bounce. So if it does, I would watch it over the 256 area, and if it does get over that, obviously you can see right here you get like an inverted head and shoulders on the hourly, the left shoulder of the head, then it's big right shoulder. So if it does manage to get over this 256 area, it's probably going to shoot up to 260. You get this 262 area, then 266, then you get let's see right here, let's just say 272 right here. It's going to be a pretty big area. So if it does manage to take off from over the 256 area, it's got room to run. So definitely watch for FedEx to make a run this week. Now I don't think no, okay, UPS. I was wondering if UPS had earnings or not, but I think they just did. Then we have the watch list this week is very short because, like I said earlier, that most of the stocks we trade or I trade already have ER, so that kind of puts a damper on the list. But anyways. Now, Baba, you know, it did pull back a little bit here, and the weekly looks good. It did close right at the middle candle on the weekly, so and the stochastics is pointing up, the MACD is starting to curl up, so the run could just start to get going. I mean, it can drop and fill a gap down to 252, but I would look at over 260 to make a run at 270, and if it does get over this 270 area, it's probably going to go to 280, and then if it gets over that area, you get the get some resistance right here in the 282. The 290 will fill the gap. So, and I think that BA has earnings coming up next week. I think February 2nd, if I remember correctly, and it will probably make a strong run into earnings. So, assuming that it will do that, but I think that Baba, if you look at their revenue, that they just produce a lot of income. So I think that this, if they beat or even have somewhat positive, that this thing's probably going to end up rocketing. So I'll definitely be watching Baba. Now, on the bearish side, I've got a few more on the bearish. One of them is Disney. Now, Disney, I know that everyone's going bonkers over Nancy Pelosi's little trading thing, but I don't really care about her or what she's doing, but I'm just looking at the chart. Based on the chart, I'm looking at the daily. You get a head and shoulders, you get the left, the head, and the right shoulder. So I'm not saying the head and shoulders is always going to work out. It's always a be-all, end-all. It has to work out, but it doesn't have to do anything. So just have to trade accordingly. So I do like it under 172, and if it does break to 172, it's probably going to go to 168 and test this gap support right here. Now, if the market is weak, it's going to fill that gap right down to the 156 area. So if it does get below 168, there's a lot of room for it to drop right here. So as you can see, also on the weekly, it looks really toppy on the weekly, you know, and the MACD is starting to curl down. The histogram is starting to push down towards the red. So have to see if that actually does work out or not. Now, another one is SHAK. Now, SHAK, I'm looking at, you know, it did get over this 106 area from the all-time high before, but I mean, the RSI is about 75, and when it was over here in this area, I mean, the RSI was a lot higher. So every time the RSI gets into the 70s over the or extremely overbought, ends up pulling back. So like it did right in here, and it did up here. So I'm expecting the same thing over here. So I'd watch it underneath, let's see, underneath this 109 area for a push down to the 107, yeah, 107 area. Then if it does manage to get below that 107, I mean, you get the next big area is going to be 104, then the 100. So if it does manage to get to 100, 100 is going to be a pretty big psychological number. It might try to bounce right there, but this really yeah, that is the big area right there. That's the 100 area, 199 area. That could be pretty big, but if it does end up losing that, it could probably go down and test 90. So I would watch SHAK for a reversal. Now Roku is just like the new Tesla. It just keeps going and going and going. So it does have like a topping tail on the weekly. So inverted hammer. I do like for it to pull back, but if it can get under, let's see, under this 418 area, let's say right here, yeah, say 417. If it gets underneath 417, it's probably going to test the 405 and the 400. Now the 400 would be another big psychological area. If it does end up losing 400, you get a gap here at 383 area, and you get a gap right here at the 347, 348. But if it does lose 400. You get obviously the 400 and 390 area, then the 360 will be the next big area on the weekly. So on the daily, but on the weekly, yeah, that's right there on the weekly. So definitely watch Roku to see if it will actually pull back. Now Netflix, I know Netflix just had earnings. It had good earnings, but it's starting to look like it's pretty bearish. On Friday, it dropped pretty nice on Friday, unless you were playing it and playing the puts and just chopped enough to kill it. But I won't get into that. But if you watch the my recap video, I explained what happened with that trade. But I'm looking for pretty much the same thing right here and here. You know, if it does end up breaking that area right there, it dropped, and the same right here. So if it does manage to break, I would even say under 562. Just go down to 560. Now this would be the gap support right here at the 558 area. Now usually they don't break it on the first try. It can And don't get me wrong, they can break it on the first try, but usually it bounces at least a little bit before actually sending it. So usually what ends up happening is that you can see like right here it started to push through and it popped back up, came back down and retested it. So it could like get down to the 560 area and bounce up to the 570 or 575 area and come back down and retest it again and make like an inverted cup and handle, then slam and cover, fill the gap. So we'll have to see if Netflix will actually do that. Now I know Netflix had good earnings, but a lot of the times, even though they had good earnings, they'll still pull back some. So Baidu is the last one. Now Baidu has just been going insane. Now I just keep looking at this on the weekly. The RSI is like 87. It's just so, and obviously it's got like a topping candle, inverted hammer. So definitely like seeing that, and it gets into this 260 area. It gets rejected. It has trouble in this area. Now I'm not saying it can't go higher than 260. It probably can, but I think it needs to let some air out, because I mean it went from, I mean this was $92 back in April, and it's 260 now. So I mean it's gone, you know, 200%. So I don't know, almost 200%. So that's just ridiculous in a span of what, 8 months or something. So that's just crazy. I think it lets some air out and needs to at least come back down and retest the 215 area. So I would watch it underneath 250 for push down to the 240. Let's see, 227, 220. Gets below 220, it's probably going to push down to 200. I definitely would like to see it come back down and retest 200. So we'll have to see if that will actually happen or not. Now I don't know what kind of a week is going to happen this week. I haven't checked the calendar yet. I'm checking it right now to see if any surprises come up. Let's see. We get FOMC on Wednesday. It looks like it's actually going to be the normal FOMC. There you're going to have the 2 o'clock statement. Then you're going to have what's his name, Powell, speak at 2:30, and usually that's when you see the move. So we have FOMC this week, and that is all I really see on the calendar as far as anything that could disrupt the market. I mean, we have our normal GDP stuff and non-manufacturing PMIs and stuff like that, but FOMC is the big one we have to watch out for on Wednesday. So, yeah, so that's going to do it for the watch list. That's what we'll be watching. Those are the levels we'll be watching, and we'll trade accordingly to the earnings reports when they come out. And every morning I'll look at the earnings and see how they do, and we'll make our game plan based on from earnings on the tickers we normally trade, and play the reaction off from that. So that's going to do it. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.